fear is the only thing in our way that is holding us back from our dream and from everything that we've been called to do here on this earth. And the way in which we overcome this fear is by effectively leading ourselves, which is why today we're continuing our conversation centered around leading yourself to your dream part 2. So great to have you back for another conversation on the Dream Lifestyle podcast. I'm so grateful to have you here today as we are continuing, and we're in the second part of a series that we are really just talking about how to lead yourself to your dream, because that's ultimately what we want to do. In order for us to achieve the dream, we have to be able to lead ourselves there, because it's not going on sale. It is not going to just happen because we wish it or just because we pray for it. We need to apply some work, some good work to our faith so we can truly walk in everything that we've been called to do. And so my goal here in this conversation is to just provide 5 more principles from my very first book, Get Started, 25 Principles to Craft Your Dream Lifestyle. And that's where we are getting all the principles from, just because these principles have been tested, they've been true, and I believe that it will be a blessing to you when you think about your journey to your dream lifestyle, because there is a lifestyle that you have been called to that is fulfilling, that is fun, and that is going to make a difference not only in your life, but in the lives of those around you. And so whether you're listening to me on a podcast platform or you're watching me on YouTube, be sure to look in that description so you can pick up your copy today. All right. So just to recap the last 5 principles that we talked about when we think about leading ourselves to our dream lifestyle. Number 1, you reap what you sow. Okay, you reap what you sow, meaning that you cannot expect to get out in something you've never put in. Like, you have to, if you are thinking about, improving any area of your life, if you are thinking about going to the next level in any space, you need to make sure that you are that you are planting seeds where you want to see growth. You want to make sure that you're applying effort where you'd like to see some form of return. So when you think about just leading yourself, you need to first be sowing so you can actually reap. Okay. And that is a biblical law, is a law that applies in pretty much every area in life. So number 1, you reap what you sow. Secondly, we talked about how new levels require new tools, meaning that what got you here won't get you there. Meaning that when you think about when you get the promotion, when you think about reaching that next level, you need to be adding to your skill set. Okay, you need to be adding to your skill set, meaning that the quality and the quantity by which you do things should increase in some way, shape, or form, just because in order for you to get to that new level and sustain at that new level, you're going to need to have some new tricks in your pocket. You're going to need to have some new skills that you can bring to the table and that you're challenging yourself with. So that way, if for whatever reason you get challenged as to why you're on that new level, you actually have some foundation to back it up. So you want to make sure that new levels require new tools. You're always trying to add to your information base. You're always trying to add to your skill set. Just always trying to think through, how can I be better? Simple point. So that's the second one. New levels require new tools. The third one, we talked about how everything has a season, meaning that we talked about there being 3 types of seasons based on what the Bible talks about. There's 3 types of season. The first season is a season of gathering, meaning that we are going out and we're going out and getting more. The second season is a season of holding, meaning that I'm more so taking a really good inventory of just what I already have. And then the third and last season is a season of letting go, meaning that there are certain things that they might have served a purpose. They might have served well in one season, but as we go into new seasons, they might be things that we need to let go. So there are certain things, there are certain people, there are certain habits, behaviors, mindsets that might have served us well in one season, but we might need to let them go in another. And so we have to understand as dreamers, if we want to make a difference, that everything has a season, which requires real, honest reflection on our part so we can really apply this principle of everything has a season. Now, the fourth principle that we talked about is that you can learn from anybody, anywhere. Meaning that it does not matter your title, it does not matter your position, your salary, your education level. In some way, shape, or form, you need to be a lifelong learner who is always aware of opportunities to learn. Okay, so regardless of who you talk to, regardless of their background, regardless of their beliefs, regardless of where you are, whether you're in a place you usually are or you're in a place where you aren't usually, you are always looking for opportunities to learn and opportunities and for you to be able to apply just this new information that you get from other people to your context, to your life. So you can learn from anybody anywhere, but you want to make sure that you are not limiting yourself from that experience. And then the fifth principle that we talked about last time was never make fear-based decisions. And I told you guys a story about one of my biggest regrets in life where I did not try out for this team because I was afraid. And I tried to pass it off like it was a whole bunch of other reasons. But the reality was I was afraid. And so we want to make sure that when we make decisions, if we are going to say no, or even if we are going to say yes, that the main reason why we're saying no or yes is not because of fear. So we never want to make fear-based decisions. Better you go into it and it fails and you actually find out versus you say no and never even find out what could have been. All right. So those are the five first principles that we talked about the last time we spoke. Now let's go into just our current week's content and these next five principles. All right. So the sixth principle that I want to share with you is that we as dreamers need to always do what is right. Always do what is right. What does this mean? As a dreamer, you need to make sure that you are operating by some sort of guidelines, some sort of principles, some sort of values that really dictate how you make decisions. Because if you are always just choosing and making decisions based on what presents itself as the best opportunity, you will end up losing your character. You will end up losing who you are. And so as a dreamer, we have to make sure that we have clear guidelines and clear core values. So that way, as we make decisions, we're making decisions based on what is right. And in the context of what we're talking about here in terms of what is right, basically we're saying we're always doing what is right based on who we truly are. I'm always doing what is right based on the standard that I have set for my life. And this is why testing is so important. Because for a lot of us, we will say that we have core values. We will say what we would do in certain situations. But then testing comes, and it's in those moments where we really get to find out what we are made of. And so we need to understand that in order for us to always do right, we need to welcome testing because testing reveals character. There is no way you can actually have a firm foundation in your character if you've never been tested. There's no way you can say that honesty and integrity is a part of your character if you've never been in a situation where you could have made a decision that was out of integrity and it might have helped you in the short term, or you could have turned down the major opportunity and it pays off in the long term because you stuck to your core values. There's no way you would really believe in that core value unless it was tested. And so as a dreamer, we want to make sure that we are always doing what is right and we are welcoming testing because testing reveals character. Now, along with always doing what is right, the seventh principle that we need to know as dreamers is that we need to expand our capacity. Expand your capacity. What does this mean? It simply means that your best needs to get better. Because as we grow in our influence, as we grow in our material possessions, as we grow in our responsibilities, there will be more to manage. And if we cannot handle all the things that are on our plate when the goal was to eat, as the famous meme says, we need to make sure that we have the capacity to sustain where we actually want to go. And that's a really good reflection question for us to really think about and ask when you think about just whatever your goals are in this current season of your life. Do you have capacity to maintain it? Do you have capacity to properly steward it? And if it's yes, awesome. If not, make changes now. But understand that as a dreamer, what are we going to do? We are going to always make sure that we have the capacity to take on what we're in faith for. And so again, we want to make sure that we're always pushing our limits. We're always figuring out ways to become more organized, always figuring out ways to become, to simply manage ourselves better, whether it comes with how we manage our calendars, how we manage relationships, just what we do on certain days, whatever it is. But again, we need to expand our capacity because our best needs to get better. That's the seventh. Now, the eighth one, the eighth principle, when we think about leading ourselves to our dream life, be in the moment. Be in the moment. Now, what does this mean? So often in life, we are on a hamster wheel where, especially as a dreamer, where we feel like we got to do this, we got to go do that, we have this responsibility, we have that task, and we can just end up living life where we're just ripping and running, ripping and running, ripping and running. So much so to the point where we don't even take time to celebrate a win. We don't take time to celebrate a milestone. We don't take time to celebrate somebody else's birthday. We don't take time to celebrate our own birthday just because we're so locked in to the task at hand. We're so locked in to our mission and things of that nature. And we can accomplish a whole bunch. But when we actually reflect back, we have really no sense of there's no depth to it. It's not deep just because we were just, well, I just did whatever I had to do to get the job done. And I will admit, this is probably a principle that God is still working on me with. But the key here is that as we are getting things done, as we are putting our best foot forward and applying all these other principles, and we are hitting these different milestones, we want to be in the moment, meaning that I can truly just smile in the fact that, hey, I'm better today than I was yesterday. And so what are we going to do as dreamers? We are going to be in the moment because we want to reflect well on all that's going on around us, because we are making progress. And so we won't grow weary in well doing. So we will be in the moment. We're going to enjoy the fruit of our labor. The ninth principle is that you need to grow as you go. Grow as you go. So what does this mean? As dreamers, we cannot have an attitude or a spirit of perfectionism, because the perfect plan simply does not exist. If you are looking for the perfect plan, you are going to stay in the same place for a very long time. Now, be warned, I'm not telling you don't be strategic. I'm not telling you to just go out without having any wisdom or research done. But what I am telling you is that if you can do something to move things forward, go ahead and make the move so that way you can get the information you need so you can take the next step. And there's so often many of us that we are stuck in the prison of perfectionism and stuck in the prison of imposter syndrome and all these things when we need to just go. You will figure it out as you continue to execute. And so as dreamers, what do we need to do? We are going to have a bias for execution, because at the end of the day, execution is what's going to get us results. Faith gives us belief. Faith is going to put us in the right headspace, in the right mindset, knowing what's going to happen. But good works is what's going to be the demonstration of the faith. And so in that execution, that is where you're actually going to be seeing your faith at work. So we are going to grow as you go. We are going to prioritize execution, 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 execution. So what is it that you can do that you've been waiting for the perfect plan on? Okay. So I would encourage you, I would challenge you even to say, am I growing as I'm going, or am I just waiting around for the perfect plan? Okay. So that's the ninth principle: grow as you go. And then the last and final principle, which this might be the most important one: you're never alone. And this is for all of my faith believers out there, for all of my Christians out there, just concerning being a dreamer. You have a God that loves you. And even if you're not, it's okay, but you still do too. But understand, you have a God that loves you, and he has given you the desires of your heart, which is the dream that you want to achieve, the difference that you want to make in the world. And there will be plenty of moments as you walk this journey out of growth, as you walk this journey out to building your dream lifestyle, where it will feel lonely. Do not be deceived. Understand that you have a God that walks right alongside you, step by step. And so I would strongly encourage you to know and have confidence in the fact that you are never alone. So those are the 5 more principles. So let's recap. It's kind of what we talked about today. Always do what is right. Expand your capacity. Be in the moment. Grow as you go. And you are never alone. I pray that this conversation was helpful to you, and I pray that you apply these principles to your life. I pray that these are principles that you can apply to your life right now, and you'll really see a difference. And guess what? there are 15 more principles that you can apply to your life in the many situations and scenarios that you will be in as a dreamer. Trust me and believe me, because they are right here in this book. So if you have not yet, I would encourage you to grab your copy of this book. I know it will bless you. And if you already got your copy, leave a review and then get a copy for somebody else, because you know people that you love who they also have a dream too, and they need to get started. I appreciate you guys as always. And always remember, life gets better when you get better.